Who the is, was, and will be Kang the Conqueror? Let's find out. Welcome back to Size Geek. Let me go ahead and get in front of this one, as Kang has a ton of different iterations, so for the sake of brevity, we'll be concentrating on Kang the Conqueror, at some points tapping into Immortus and Rama-Tut, as they are the most prominent in the Marvel Universe, with Kang getting the lion's share of our focus, as he will most likely be the primary version we see in the new Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania coming out early next year. Bear in mind that the info that I relay here has no bearing whatsoever on what happens in the movie, as I have not seen an early version of the film, so if something I go over here happens to show up in the movie, then that is going to be because Peyton Reed, the returning director, used source material from the comics and put his own spin on the lore. Before we delve into his history, let's go over Kang's abilities to get a better idea of how he accomplishes what he does. He has zero superhuman abilities, but is an extraordinary genius, an expert historical scholar, and a master physicist specializing in time travel, engineer, as well as a technician. He's usually armed with 40th century technology, wearing highly advanced battle armor that enhances his strength, is capable of energy, hologram, and force field projection, as well as having the capacity to control other forms of technology that, thanks to his time ship, Kang has access to from any century. As Rama-Tut, he uses an ultra-diode ray gun that has the ability to sap the will of human beings. And at a high frequency, it is even able to weaken superhuman beings and prevent the use of their superpowers. They can be freed, though, from its effects by a second shot fired from that ultra-diode gun. Kang the Conqueror was formed as a variant of Nathaniel Richards, a descendant of Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, leader of the Fantastic Four, and is a scholar from the 31st century who becomes enamored with history and runs across a time travel technology created by Mr. Fantastic's arch nemesis, Dr. Doom, who also happens to possibly be related to Nathaniel as well. Nathaniel decides to go back in time to ancient Egypt and invariably takes on the mantle of Pharaoh Rama-Tut and attempts to claim an heir, Sabanur, or the First One, who is destined to become Apocalypse, the first mutant in the Marvel Universe. Rama-Tut is eventually defeated by the Fantastic Four and is forced to flee this timeline and travel to the 20th century, where he comes face to face with Dr. Doom, whose armor he uses in his own design to become the Scarlet Centurion. Nathaniel attempts to go back to the 31st century, only to miss it by a mere 1,000 years, which shows him a war-torn Earth that utilizes technologies that he cannot comprehend. Nonetheless, he is able to conquer this future world, expanding his control throughout the galaxy. It is during this time he takes on the moniker of Kang the Conqueror. He soon realizes that he now rules a dying planet, and wants to go back to a time where Earth was more alive and ripe for plunder. Under his new guise of Kang, he decides to go back to the 20th century, where he has his first run-in with the Avengers, and is able to overpower most of the team, save for the Wasp and Rick Jones, who were subsequently able to free the imprisoned Avengers, with Thor redirecting the radiation that Kang had released to combat the newly freed heroes, which forces him to retreat. Back in Kang's original timeline, he falls in love with one of his subjects, Ravonna, who doesn't reciprocate his feelings. So, the rebuked Kang decides to kidnap the Avengers to demonstrate his power to her and perhaps gain her affection. When Kang refuses to execute Ravonna, his commanders free the Avengers to fight against him, who then defeat the time traveler, but not before Ravonna, who realizes that she actually does love Kang, is fatally wounded when she intercepts a blast that was meant for him. Kang sends the Avengers back to the 20th century and then places Ravonna's body in stasis. In the desperate bid of bringing his love, Ravonna, back to life, Kang enters into a wager with the Grand Master that, if triumphant, will grant him temporary power over life and death. Using the Avengers as his pawns, he is still unsuccessful and cannot bring her back into his life. Incensed by the loss, he then kidnaps the Hulk, sending the Jade Giant back to France in 1917 to kill the Phantom Eagle before he can follow through with destroying a giant German cannon, which would in turn kill the Hulk's grandfather, who happens to be fighting in the trenches, which would then alter the timeline by preventing the Hulk from being born and stop the formation of the Avengers in the first place. Hulk is able to destroy the cannon, which sends him back to the 20th century and Kang into limbo. Time passes, with the Conqueror appearing at the Avengers mansion, searching for the Celestial Madonna, who turns out to be Mantis. He harbors a desire to marry her as she is destined to have a powerful child. The Avengers are assisted by a future version of Kang, who, fatigued by conquest as well as the laws of Ravonna and his son Marcus, had returned to ancient Egypt and his identity as Rama-Tut. He ruled benevolently for a decade before placing himself in suspended animation, only to revive in the 20th century with a desire to counsel and change the younger version of himself. Soon afterward, Rama-Tut is approached by the alien timekeepers, who happen to be the last living creatures in existence, to become their agent, to preserve timelines rather than conquer them in exchange for immortality. He accepts and reinvents himself as Immortus, lord of the other dimensional realm of Limbo. Immortus comes across Kang the Conqueror in a timeline during the 19th century, who is then attempting to create a stronghold. He then decides to gain the assistance of the Avengers and the Two-Gun Kid to confront his younger self. Kang inadvertently overloads his armor while fighting Thor, destroying himself and seemingly erasing Immortus and Rama-Tut from existence. This leads us to Kang's resurrection by a cosmic entity, the Beyonder, to participate in the Secret Wars, which I will go over in a future video. During this time, it is revealed that Kang did indeed die, but due to his manipulation of time, he has created several alternate Kangs. Alright, buckle up, because if what we just went over wasn't confusing enough, the next part will up the ante. The Kang who discovered the information on alternate Kangs had been drawn to Limbo after his time travel vehicle was destroyed by Thor. Finding Immortus' remains inside his fortress, Kang assumes the Lord of Time to no longer exist and discovers the alternate versions of himself using viewing devices he discovers, not realizing that Immortus is a future version of himself. At one point, he brings Ravonna to Limbo from the moment right before her death, unintentionally creating an alternate reality where he was killed. Determined to be the only Kang, he joins forces with two particularly cunning divergents, whom he determines he cannot easily eliminate, the three forming a council that systematically destroys the other alternate versions. Afterwards, he destroys one of the other two Kangs, then brings in the Avengers as part of a plot to destroy the other one, with the latter Kang eventually discovering this. The betrayed Kang is delayed by Ravonna, who tells him that if he truly loves her, he must not kill the first Kang. He decides to ignore her, attacking him anyway, and is destroyed. Immortus then reveals that he faked his death and manipulated everything behind the scenes. Now only the one Prime Kang, who Immortus tricks into absorbing the memories of all the slain Kangs, driving him insane in the process. Immortus then sends the Avengers back to their timeline. Deep breath. The remaining Kang diverges into two alternate Kangs, with one being invited to join the Cross-Time Kang Corps, which consists of a wide range of Kangs from multiple timelines who are searching for a celestial ultimate weapon. Calling himself Fred, he has a brief encounter with the Avengers while trying to stop the space pirate Nebula from interfering with the timeline. The Prime Kang, having recovered, then attempts to manipulate the Avengers from a time vortex and encounters the Fantastic Four in a bid to capture Mantis and use her to defeat a Celestial and the other Kangs, while Fred is incinerated by a Nebula-possessed Human Torch during a later battle with the Fantastic Four in the time stream. Later, Prime Kang appears, captures the Vision, and battles both the Avengers and a new foe, Terminatrix, who is revealed to be revived Ravonna. Kang is critically injured when he intercepts a blow from Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which was meant for his old love, who, distraught over his sacrifice, teleports away with him. Terminatrix places Prime Kang in a stasis to heal his injuries and assumes control of his empire. However, she soon finds the empire under attack by a being called Alioth and reluctantly summons the Avengers to assist. She revives Kang, who then helps the Avengers in defeating Alioth, but not before allowing the entity to kill the entire Cross-Time Kang Corps. After healing, Kang prepares to become Rama-Tut again, from there Immortus. He glimpses the future and learns of Immortus' servitude to the Timekeepers of the Time Variance Authority, renewing his horror at the destiny that awaits him as that simpering academic. As a result, Kang rejects this future to the point of aiding the Avengers in protecting Rick Jones from Immortus' latest scheme. When Immortus betrays the Timekeepers to try and save the Avengers, they kill him and attempt to turn Kang into Immortus before Rama-Tut becomes Immortus. However, the temporal backlash of Kang's strength of will in a temporally unstable environment causes Immortus and Rama-Tut to split off from Kang, making them both clear alternate versions of Kang rather than Kang's definitive future. With the weakened Timekeepers destroyed, Kang rejoices in his freedom from the destiny of Immortus and Rama-Tut, as he has now technically become them while still being himself. Alright, that gives you some background on the convoluted story and evolution of He Who Remains, Kang the Conqueror, Immortus, and Rama-Tut. I can't wait to check out which iterations we see solidified during Quantumania in February. But I know that I will be in line on opening weekend, so keep your eyes peeled for my reviews of the movie soon after. Don't forget, if you have a moment, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you can stay up to date on what is happening in the MCU, the DC Universe, and pop culture at large. Catch you next time.